Margaret's cruelty reached its peak. She visited the hospital the day after the delivery, sweeping into the room like a queen inspecting her subjects. She glanced at Lily, then at me, her expression unreadable.
Oh my goodness, look at her, she's so small.
Her words felt like a slap, but before I could respond, she began laughing.
And that nose, my world, it's huge.
I was horrified by her behavior. She laughed even louder.
Well, I suppose she couldn't help it. These things do come from the mother's side, don't they?
My chest tightened as I pulled Lily closer, shielding her from the venom in Margaret's words. Adam was standing by the window and glaring at his mother.
Mom, that's enough.
Oh, Adam, don't be so sensitive. I'm only saying what everyone's thinking. The child is hideous. It looks just like its mother. I knew this day would come. Moreover, I wanted a boy to carry the family name, not some useless girl.
Adam clenched his jaw, but said nothing more. When I married into the Kingsley family, I knew I wasn't stepping into a fairy tale. Margaret Kingsley, my mother-in-law, had made that crystal clear from the start. From the moment I met her, she'd sized me up with a look that felt like a scalpel slicing through my very being.
Well, I suppose you're pretty in an understated way. Adam always did have a peculiar taste.
It wasn't the words that stung, it was the tone. That dry, condescending lilt that made it clear I'd never be good enough for her only child. I tried to brush it off, to tell myself she didn't mean it that way, but deep down, I knew better. Margaret didn't make offhanded comments. She made calculated strikes. Before Adam and I even got engaged, Margaret took it upon herself to test me, as though I were a lab specimen. She invited me to tea one afternoon, a supposedly warm gesture that turned into a trial by fire.
Selena, dear, do you enjoy baking?
I smiled, eager to please her. I do, actually. I love making desserts, especially cakes.
Oh, how quaint. Adam doesn't care for sweets, though. He's always preferred savory dishes, but I suppose you wouldn't know that yet.
Her smile was sharp enough to cut glass, and I felt like a fool. The entire conversation was peppered with subtle jabs, each one meant to remind me that she knew her son better, that I was an outsider. Once, she accidentally spilled red wine on the white dress I wore to a family dinner, then laughed it off like it was nothing.
Oh, Selena, you really should be more careful with delicate fabrics.
I bit my tongue, refusing to give her the satisfaction of seeing me react. When Adam proposed, I thought things might get better. I hoped that maybe Margaret would accept me once she realized how much Adam and I loved each other. But if anything, her hostility escalated. During wedding planning, she found fault with every choice I made.
Red roses? For a June wedding? How bold of you.
Bold was Margaret's way of saying tacky. She insisted on reviewing the guest list, nitpicking my choices as though I'd invited criminals instead of childhood friends.
You're inviting her? Isn't she the one who got divorced last year? That's hardly appropriate for such an occasion.
By the time our wedding day arrived, I was emotionally drained. Margaret had managed to overshadow every joyful moment with her disapproving stares and backhanded compliments. But I told myself it didn't matter. I was marrying Adam, not his mother. I was wrong. Marriage didn't make Margaret relent, it gave her new ammunition. She visited our home unannounced, inspecting every corner like a drill sergeant.
Oh, you haven't hung curtains yet? Adam always preferred a touch of elegance in his spaces.
She criticized my cooking, my cleaning, even the way I arranged the furniture. Nothing I did was ever good enough. The worst, though, was when I became pregnant with my daughter, Lily. I thought Margaret might soften at the news, that she'd finally see me as family. But instead, she doubled down.
I hope the baby takes after Adam. His genes are much stronger.
Her disdain for me seeped into every conversation about my pregnancy. She questioned my choices at every turn.
Are you sure you should be eating that? You wouldn't want to gain too much weight. It's hard to bounce back after the baby, especially for someone with your build.
Her words stuck like barbs, each one designed to chip away at my confidence. I tried to stay strong for Adam, but even he struggled to stand up to her. When Lily was born, Margaret's cruelty reached its peak. She visited the hospital the day after the delivery, sweeping into the room like a queen inspecting her subjects. She glanced at Lily, then at me, her expression unreadable.
Oh my goodness, look at her, she's so small.
Her words felt like a slap, but before I could respond, she began laughing.
And that nose, my world, it's huge.
I was horrified by her behavior. She laughed even louder.
Well, I suppose she couldn't help it. These things do come from the mother's side, don't they?
My chest tightened as I pulled Lily closer, shielding her from the venom in Margaret's words. Adam was standing by the window and glaring at his mother.
Mom, that's enough.
Oh, Adam, don't be so sensitive. I'm only saying what everyone's thinking. The child is hideous. It looks just like its mother. I knew this day would come. Moreover, I wanted a boy to carry the family name, not some useless girl.
Adam clenched his jaw, but said nothing more. I knew he wanted to say something so badly. But Margaret was his mother, and confronting her was never easy. Her visit was short, but her words lingered long after she'd gone. Every time I looked at my beautiful tiny Lily, I could still hear Margaret's laughter ringing in my ears. As Lily grew, Margaret's mockery didn't stop. Instead, it intensified. Each visit was another opportunity for her to hurl insults disguised as observations.
Oh, look at that. She's still so petite. Is she even growing?
Lily was 3 when Margaret first turned her comments directly to her.
You know, sweetheart, you'd be so much prettier if your nose wasn't quite so big for your face.
Lily's tiny hands flew to her face, covering her nose as her wide eyes turned to me, as if she was searching for reassurance. I felt my heart shatter. Lily, you're perfect just the way you are. Don't ever let anyone tell you otherwise. Margaret snorted from her place on the couch.
Well, Selena, there's no harm in a little honesty. It builds character. Don't lie to the child all in the name of being a good parent.
I wanted to scream, to throw her out of my home and tell her to never come back. But Adam begged me to be patient when I reported her to him for the umpteenth time.
She's my mom. I'll talk to her, I promise.
He did talk to her, time and time again, but Margaret never listened. She waved off his concerns like they were trivial inconveniences.
Oh, Adam, stop being dramatic. Children need to learn to take a little criticism. It's good for them.
By the time Lily was 5, the damage was done. She'd started avoiding mirrors, refusing to let me tie her hair back because it made her nose look bigger. She was quieter, shyer, retreating into herself in ways that broke me a little more every day. One night, as I was tucking her into bed, she looked up at me with tear-filled eyes.
Mommy, why is my nose so big?
I froze, my heart twisting painfully. I smoothed her hair back and kissed her forehead. Your nose is perfect, baby. It's part of what makes you, you. And you're the most beautiful girl in the whole world.
But Grandma says it's ugly.
I hugged my daughter and cried. How could Margaret do this? How could she take my bright, bubbly child and make her feel like she was anything less than perfect? The next time Margaret visited, I couldn't hold back. Margaret, you need to stop commenting on Lily's appearance. You're hurting her.
Oh, for heaven's sake, Selena, don't be so dramatic. She's a child. Children don't get hurt. And she needs to know about her situation now to prepare her for when she'll start getting bullied. I'm helping you since you're so dumb and you're being ungrateful.
I couldn't believe my ears. Are you even listening to yourself? She's 5 years old and already insecure about the way she looks because of you. You're already planning about her getting bullied? This isn't harmless, Margaret. It's cruel.
Cruel? Don't be ridiculous. I'm just being honest. If she can't handle a little truth, that's on you as a parent.
Adam stepped in then, his voice louder than I'd ever heard it.
Mom, enough. You're done. If you can't respect Selena and Lily, you're not welcome here anymore.
What? You're cutting me off because of Selena and her imbecile child.
That child is my daughter and your granddaughter. She's new to this world, yet you're already making her life so miserable. If you can't shut up and be nice to my wife and daughter, then stay away from us.
It wasn't an easy decision, cutting Margaret out of our lives. But it was necessary. Lily deserved to grow up feeling loved and cherished, not ridiculed and diminished. 2 nights after cutting Margaret out of our lives, I woke to Lily's terrified screams. Adam and I rushed into her room to find her trembling, her little face pale as she pointed to her bed. A horrible doll covered in blood sat there, its painted smile twisted into something sinister.
It was staring at me.
I hugged her tightly, assuring her it was just a toy, but the unease settled deep in my chest. We hadn't put the doll there, and neither had Lily. Adam checked the house, but all the doors and windows were locked. We threw the doll out, thinking that would be the end of it, but the next night another appeared. A different doll, just as terrifying, and the night after that. Lily was too scared to sleep alone, so Adam and I took turns staying with her, but even then, she would wake up screaming. We doubled security, installing cameras and reinforced locks. We even modified our door, electrifying it at night. But the dolls kept coming. It felt as though someone was mocking our attempts to protect our daughter. A week later, just as I was beginning to wonder if we were imagining things, we heard another scream. This time, it wasn't Lily. It was an adult's scream, sharp and painful. Adam and I bolted out of bed and rushed to the hallway. And there she was. Margaret lay crumpled on the floor near the door, groaning in pain. She had been electrocuted trying to break in, a doll clutched in her hand.
Mom, what are you doing here?
She whimpered, struggling to speak. But from the few words we got, she confessed that she'd been the one tormenting Lily with the hideous dolls. Adam and I were shocked and pissed, but we called an ambulance. However, even before the paramedics arrived, it was clear something was terribly wrong. Margaret's face had drooped on one side, her speech slurred and incomprehensible. The doctors confirmed it was a severe stroke, one that left her entire right side paralyzed. She'd need constant care, but Margaret insisted on returning to her home. For weeks, she tried to reach out to us. She apologized through letters, voicemails, and even messengers, but her words felt hollow. The memories of her cruelty, the years of torment, and the nightmare she'd inflicted on Lily were too fresh. Adam picked up her call one day.
You made your choices, Mom. I'm protecting my family now from monsters like you.
I agreed. We didn't owe her forgiveness, not after everything she'd done. Margaret lived out her days alone in that cold, empty house. The calls stopped after a year, and soon, so did the letters. 2 years after that night, we received word that Margaret had passed away. A neighbor found her lifeless body slumped in a chair. She'd died as she lived, alone, with no one to hold her hand. I thought I'd feel relief or even closure, but all I felt was a dull ache, not sadness for her, but for what could have been. Margaret could have chosen love, but instead, she chose bitterness. And in the end, it consumed her. Thanks for watching.